Hey, Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. We're at episode number 1673. Yeah, in less than 5 years, no less. Actually, I'll tell you a secret, we're actually past 1700 right now if you count all the bonus episodes, which don't get numbered, but, like actual 1700 coming at the end of this month, February 28th. So that's going to be very cool. A nice another 100 round number milestone. But before we get there, we have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot to talk about today because yesterday, the fine folks at Lucasfilm announced what essentially amounts to a Journey to Black Spire Outpost or Journey to Galaxy's Edge publishing initiative, even though they haven't exactly called it that. And we'll get into all of that stuff, but there was one particular announcement that I thought wasn't just about Black Spire Outpost. I think it also is something about Episode 9 as well. So we've talked here on the podcast about the fact that we don't have any announcements past the month of July, or we didn't, for new novels, new comics, new stories of any kind coming out for Lucasfilm, and that usually, at least with the The Force Awakens and Rogue One and The Last Jedi, there was a Force Friday event or a Rogue Friday event in the case of Rogue One, where a whole bunch of stuff was all released at once, and that happened in the month of September. And so the thought was that, they hadn't necessarily announced anything yet because we weren't at Celebration Chicago just yet. And so there would be something coming, and that we were just kind of in a holding pattern for that. Well, now we've cracked open August because there are a bunch of these Black Spire Outpost stories, comics, and middle grade novels and young adult novels and whatnot coming out. But we've also cracked into September as well. And it is with a novel called Black Spire, an adult novel written by Delilah S. Dawson. And that name hasn't popped up in a while. Actually, it kind of popped up not too long ago in a just general, hey, it's been too long since Delilah has written a Star Wars novel or a story of any kind, because basically her two are the Phasma novel and The Perfect Weapon. Those are the big ones. And so there we go. Now we suddenly have a Black Spire novel, and it's in September, and it's still part of the Black Spire thing, but you need to listen to just the brief one-liner synopsis to start to rev up your imagination. It says, in this novel, a prequel to the Disney Parks experience, General Leia Organa dispatches her top spy to Batuu in a desperate search for Resistance allies. Okay, so yeah, they're, pretty upfront about the fact that this is supposed to be a prequel to the Disney Parks experience. And so as a result, they also don't exactly say when in the timeline this takes place. We do know that the First Order and the Resistance are supposed to have a presence on Batuu at the time that we all go in and experience Galaxy's Edge, or, when we get to hear about experiencing Galaxy's Edge, because, yeah, it might be a while for some of us, I would like it to be 2019. That would be wonderful. I don't see it happening personally, but who knows? Maybe the universe will surprise me. That would be really awesome if it did. Anyway, I digress. So the idea of General Leia Organa sending somebody out to find Resistance allies, well, that very much seems to tie in with where the Resistance stood at the end of The Last Jedi, sending out, desperate calls for help, considering that the First Order was wiping them out and just knocked them down to the barest infinitesimal leftovers of a Resistance. So that seems to fit in with that. And the other aspect of it that's rather interesting is that she's sending her quote-unquote top spy. And it makes you wonder whether this is a sequel to the Phasma novel, because the top spy was in Phasma. That would be Vi Marati. She was one of the main characters of the Phasma novel, along with Cardinal, who was the former trainer, I should say, of all the First Order cadets until Phasma showed up, and then Cardinal got shunted to deal with all the little kids until they came of age and went to Phasma for the real brutal stuff. So Vi Marati, she hasn't been named, but I don't know who else it would be, especially considering the fact that this is Delilah S. Dawson's novel and Vi Marati is her character. So why wouldn't it be Vi Marati who is in this thing? So that's part of why I think that it's entirely possible that this Black Spire novel is not just a Journey to Galaxy's Edge type of novel, that it's also a journey to episode 9 as well. And there's one other reason too, and that is Naomi Ackie. Now, she is a new cast member for episode 9. She's not appeared in the other movies, so her character is going to be brand new. I will say, before I go any further, that I am not going to get into the rumors and leaks and spoilers that are kicking around that are alleged to be about who Naomi Ackie is playing in episode 9. Like, these are things that have been posted on Reddit by people who would have had to break their NDAs with Lucasfilm to say the kinds of things that they're saying. And all I will say to you is this, that what the rumors are saying is not what I'm about to propose, and I haven't seen what I'm about to propose mentioned anywhere. So, there you go. This is probably a long way around of telling you what you've probably already surmised, which is the possibility that Naomi Ackie is playing the character of Vi Marati in episode 9. And there is one other bit of information that's been lurking out there for the better part of a year. And, it's funny, like, tracking it down was a little odd. I'll tell you about that in a second. First, though, I do want to say, hey, if you're not subscribing to the show, I hope you'll consider doing it. And I hope you'll consider also supporting this Daily Dose of Star Wars Joy by joining me at patreon.com/SW7X7. So, in looking up Vi Marati's details, and gosh, I hope I'm saying it right. Is it V-I, or Vi? Anyway, there is a note in her profile on Wikipedia that says that she was at Black Spire Outpost and that she was hiding from First Order stormtroopers at one point. And the reference point only said Galaxy's Edge, and that was really puzzling. And the actual reference thing for Galaxy's Edge, like, you have to really dig into the Wikipedia page or the Wikipedia page to find the reference, and it goes back to some trading cards that were offered at Star Wars Galactic Nights at Disney Hollywood Studios that were posted by the Twitter account folks WDW Scope, Jeff and Mary Ellen posting stuff about Walt Disney World and Disneyland and so on and so forth, and doing Periscope videos and whatnot. Anyway, they posted images of 3 different trading cards, one of which depicted Doc Ondar, the Ithorian antiquities dealer, and also Hondo Ohnaka and Chewbacca making a deal, and a photo, it's an artistic rendering, if you will, not a photo, of Vi Marati hiding from First Order stormtroopers. So when that actually takes place is another bit of intrigue and possibility. And it goes to the whole question of how long is it between episode 8 and episode 9? Because if we're being dropped into a world, entitled Galaxy's Edge, a world entitled Batuu, then it sounds like, based on everything that we're hearing, that we're also being dropped in at a very specific time in the galaxy as well. And that in itself has kind of raised another question for me entirely, which we'll pursue on another episode of the podcast. But for now, I think we have to call it quits and say that we will pursue the rest of Black Spire tomorrow, and then we'll pursue that lingering question over the weekend. So thank you so much, of course, for joining me for this episode as we wrap it up. And as always, may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.